I wasn't really planning on making a comment, but since you asked me, what I would like to see you do if you consider a burn ban is maybe make it exceptional to the people who have a burn plan in place. If they've got an approved burn plan, omit them from a ban.
We talked about that,
something like
and,
that.
but I don't think everywhere the fires are, the ones that are bad fires, they're in a burn ban already. What difference does it make? I mean, they're
going to green up.
Accidental or whatever. I don't think a burn ban will stop much of anything myself.
Yeah, I think the guys doing the control burns are learning each year and doing a better job. And I think what concerns me more than anything, if we hinder them from doing that, we're getting such a cedar tree problem, and that's even a greater fuel load if we don't work for keeping people back at that distance. But if I had it to do again, that's the way we would do it, because we would much rather keep people back and keep the roads open where those responders can get in there. But the rig did collapse. We was able to help direct the direction that it fell. An official from Tacoma Fire Department, myself, and then 3 oil field officials made decisions jointly, and we were able to cut guy wires on the east side so that the rig could only fall the direction that we wanted it to fall. They were moving a dozer around to put just a little bit of tension on that line, and it actually fell before they tensioned the line. Once the rig fell, then they were able to move in and hook a dozer onto a generator set that had about a 5,000 gallon diesel tank, which was half full. It had about 2,500 gallons of diesel in it, and pull that out of the way. And then at that point, the only danger was the existing fire from the natural gas and crude oil that was burning as it was coming out of the well.
So there wasn't a propane tank there?
Turned out there was not a propane tank there, and we learned that before the rig actually fell. But then it was just a matter of getting, I think, the crew that ended up handling it was CUD Well Services.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what, once they assembled there, we left it to them. But what they were initially talking about doing after the rig fell over, the drill stem was still sticking out of the well, and it was bent over, but it was not kinked. And they were talking about trying to clamp onto that drill stem and pump the mud down the well from this distance back here away from the fire. And I think that that's probably what they did. And then last night, visiting with one of the officials shortly after the fire was put out, which was just a few minutes after 9 p.m., he said that of the 3 burn victims, 2 of them were released from the hospital, and the other one's injuries were not near as severe as they had first thought they might be. And so they're going to have him for a few more days, but he's in.
Was anybody in the derrick when you caught?
The initial report I got was that there was, and he went down the Geronimo line.
I wondered.
Which, when you're in the derrick, if that rig catches on fire, you either come down into the fire or go down the Geronimo line. So,
Do they not have blowout preventers on those when they're drilling?
that had a blowout preventer on it. It's my understanding that it activated about 48 hours prior to the fire when they hit the gas pocket, and they were trying to deal with the pressure that they had. And I'm not sure exactly what all they were doing. I kind of gathered that they were trying to continue to drill and maybe relieve some of that pressure to a lower point when it blew out. But that's an assumption based on what they were
Okay, well, I never had known to use one, or never experienced any. I just thought that's what blowout preventer was for.
And it activated and had been functioning properly for a couple of days, and they did tell me that they didn't realize they had a problem until the natural gas reached their engines that was running on the
Sped 'em up
generator.
a little, didn't they?
And then they started being fueled through the intake
Right.
from that natural gas, started running away with themselves. And they actually had, those engines have a damper in the intake where they can get over there and flip that damper and shut the air supply off to them. And they had shut a couple of those down, and I guess the final engine ignited the fire.
That's what they think ignited it was.
And I think that's where the man was that was burned the worst, was he was trying to shut those down, and he was right in close when it happened.
Lucky folks.
Life safety is always first and foremost. And after that point, it was kind of a tough moment when the man that owned the rig was there and had been very instrumental in building the rig, and he came to the conclusion that it was going over. He was actually the one that went in and cut the support cables, and that was a little over $2 million.
So it's a new rig.
Well, it was not just brand new, but it was not real old either. He said that was his favorite rig. It was Dandy number 7. The rig was coming down.
Did it come down pretty fast, pretty slow?
Well, it was probably 2 to 3 hours after the.
I mean, when she actually started falling, did it just?
It came down fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of pipe in it.
They had all the pipe out and sitting on the derrick floor, and I think they.
Oh yeah.
So there was all that weight up there.
Ooh.
But it's held bang and that hit.
Yeah, they said that in the worst case scenario, they've seen when some of that pipe went through the derrick floor, and it goes every which direction then because it's fallen vertically instead of over, and they've seen that poke through that fuel tank and cause a big fire.
Yeah.
We were relieved when it all fell over and didn't penetrate the derrick floors. The old derrick floor, all that fire was impinging directly on that derrick floor, and where that pipe was sitting, you could see it sag about 2 feet. You knew it was getting ready to give away.
That'll be quite a little cleanup ordeal.
Yes, it will.
A lot of scrap iron. How long is that there for again? A bit.
The gentleman from the oil field, all 3 of those guys that we worked with were very professional and courteous and respectful to us, and as we were to them, and it just really worked well to have that kind of a.
Yeah.
Well, and that group's, they work the same with us in here too. That Eagle group does. They're pretty easy to get along with.
Hope that's the only one we have.
No kidding.
One of those guys mentioned that there's probably more production in Woods County than there is in any other county in